Well, today we're going to be dealing with one of the most irritating myths I run across in the history of warfare, which is the myth of the armored train and just blow up the track. Simple as that. Well, it's really not that simple. First of all, you can just blow up anything. Roads, tracks, airports, ports, just in general. And out of all those options, the easiest one by far to repair is a railroad track. All you need to do, you fill in the hole if there was one caused by the explosion, you run a new set of rails and sleepers over it, and you're done. It is very easy, very simple work, especially if it's like a small break. You actually have to destroy a very large section of track to achieve any real results. And even then, the only thing you're really going to do is delay traffic. So it's mostly just a harassment thing that forces your enemy to come out with a train to repair the broken section and delays their railroad traffic. That's where the armored trains come in, by the way. The whole point of armored trains is specifically to protect against things like this. For example, in the Boer War, which I have this entire huge fracking book about, it became the de facto role of the 20 or so armored trains which ended up being employed to go out to the site of a rail blast, make sure run off anybody who was going to be waiting in ambush for the repair train that they were expecting to come out. Instead, they'd be dealing with an armored train that would come out, full of armed soldiers and armed to the teeth. The whole point was you sent out the armored train when you knew there was going to be trouble. It expected a fight. It found the people waiting at the damaged area, waiting to ambush the repair crew. Then it got rid of those people, either by killing them or scaring them off, either way. Then it went back and got the repair train and escorted it to the break in the track so that those guys could do their job. And it would stay there and guard them so that the guys they had just scared away from attacking said train didn't just come back, basically. Or, I mean, they could come back, but it would cost them because then they'd have to deal with the armored train. So the whole you can just blow up the track myth, the whole point of armored trains is they're there specifically for that reason. The tracks are expected to be blown up. They're a very obvious target. Therefore, you have armored trains for the very purpose of protecting those very tracks and, more importantly, the trains going on them from ambushes, either after damage has already been done and there's been a break made in the line, or you're escorting and you are going out there with the mission of running off anybody waiting in ambush for a repair crew, or you're escorting rail traffic through a dangerous area. Armored trains aren't really intended to fight on the move. They are there for when an attack happens. So, say the armored train is part of a larger convoy, which was a system that was often done in South Africa during the Boer War due to the intensity and frequency of attacks on rail traffic. Well, the armored train would be in the middle of the formation, usually second. There would be a train ahead. The armored train would be the second one, and then two more. This made sure that the armored train was at the center of the formation, so that if the convoy got ambushed, the train was in the strongest position to protect the rest of the convoy. The point wasn't to prevent destruction of tracks. The point was that if and when the tracks got blown up, to stop the trains, the armored train and its garrison and its weapons would already be there to fight off the inevitable follow-up attacks by the ambushing party. That was the entire purpose. Escort trains through areas you know are probably going to get attacked anyways, so that when the attack inevitably comes, you have a garrison, you have an armed garrison in a well-protected train already there to fight them off. And also, to perform reconnaissance, especially at night, through lines that are under threat. So, for example, once again, using the Boer War, the armored trains would perform unscheduled reconnaissance runs at night. Why? Because at night is when your partisans and your saboteurs are going to be most active, because it's dark. Obviously, it's very hard to see anybody moving around, especially in the middle of South Africa, especially night, because it's dark. It's really dark. Yeah, there's no city lights or light pollution in a place like that. You are in the middle of absolutely nowhere. The only light is whatever you brought with you. So, armored train is going to go out there, and it's going to be looking for trouble. It's going to be both a combination of, okay, here I am, mess with me. So it's literally daring the saboteurs to come after it, and start a fight that, in all likelihood, unless they have no real chance of winning unless they manage to detonate a mine directly underneath the train itself. And even if they do detonate a mine directly underneath the train itself, and they do immobilize it, it doesn't change much because there's still the rest of the train. If you destroy part of the train, even if you destroy like one of the wagons with a mine blast, the rest of the train is still there. Unless it got thrown off the track, which is a different story. But in most cases, that doesn't happen. So you still have to deal with everybody else, all armed to the teeth, in the rest of the train. And unless you got the artillery wagons and the gun wagons, you're dealing with a train that is still basically a fortress. It's just one that can't move currently. So the very presence of an armored train at all serves as a deterrent to attacks upon railroads. And this is the exact same logic as any other deterrence patrol. And we're talking everything from beat cops on regular city streets to heavily armed military patrols on roads. Armored trains is just the railroad version of that, taken to its logical military conclusion. Railroads are always going to be a target, especially of insurgencies and guerrilla warfare. When you are in a place that is occupied, that the locals consider theirs, or that somebody else has sent people in to cause trouble, railroads and rail traffic are an obvious target. Because, well, trains are important for moving large amounts of stuff around anywhere. Obviously. Same thing with river traffic. You look, same thing with river traffic. Rivers, same story. You've got those are natural highways that are very efficient for transporting large amounts of stuff on the cheap. So railroads and rivers serve basically the same purpose. Except rivers obviously water. So this is a short, video. It's not really organized, but, I think it serves, the purpose of illustrating my one real point here, which is that, yeah, you can blow up the track, but they expect that to happen. Once tracks start blowing up, armored trains start showing up specifically for that reason, because they expect you to attack the tracks. They expect you to attack the trains. They expect partisans to descend upon the trains that they have immobilized and try to rob and raid them and make off with essential supplies, because partisans usually don't have much weapons or equipment. They have to steal or make everything. That's kind of the point, is to live off your enemy, live off the land. That's a large part of what makes partisans such a pain in the ass. So the armored train is there for the sole purpose, for the most part, in most cases, of protecting that railroad traffic, fully expecting an ambush to occur and being there when it happens to fight off the attackers. Because the bomb, the mine, whatever, it may stop the trains as intended. But when there's a fully garrisoned armored train there with like 40, 50, whatever guys and who knows whatever weapons it's packing, the partisans who blew up that section of the track are now going to be far less inclined to descend as a horde and start tearing those tracks apart, start tearing those trains apart for whatever they can get and taking prisoners. The fact that you have an armored train as part there at all deters that. That's the purpose of the armored train. It's not that difficult a concept, and yet I still keep finding this very same argument all over, wherever armored trains are mentioned. I don't understand why kill trains. I don't understand kill trains. They don't make any sense. They're not frontline combat units, you dumb ass fuck. They're not. They are protection units. They protect your rear areas and your logistics and your railroads. They're also very good for bringing up large amounts of defensive force to an area that is under attack. For example, when you're on your own territory, armored trains are very effective defense because they are literally mobile fortresses. And this has been true since at least the Siege of Paris in the Franco-Prussian War, where the French employed an early form of railway artillery to defend Paris, which was encircled by the Prussian army. See the photo. So armored trains used in the offensive, not very common, because obviously you can blow up the track, and it is fairly easy to set up an ambush on tracks, because the tracks are there, obviously, and the trains have to use them. But in most cases, it completely ignores the fact that trains are very rare, only in very specific conditions, like complete anarchy and civil war, used as offensive units. Most of the time, 99.999% of the time, they are used as defensive units, protecting railroads, guarding railroad stations, and escorting trains through dangerous territory, so that when an attack does happen, the partisans responsible for it are far, far less likely to try to attack the trains that they've just stopped and loot them. Because if they choose to pick that fight, they will be massively outgunned. The armored train doesn't have to be mobile, it just has to be there. It's still a it's still a fortress. It's just there now in your way, preventing you from getting at those trains you were going to loot and pillage. It's not that complicated. So, please, the next time somebody says to you, armored trains are stupid, can't you just blow up the track? you can now disavow them and say, well, yes, but that's the whole reason why armored trains even exist in the first place, because of course you can blow up the track. Then somebody has to go out and fix the track, and then the partisans or whoever blew up the track will be there waiting for those guys. The armored train goes out first to get rid of the expected ambush, to fight them off so that the track repairs can be done without further issue. Same thing when they're protecting a railroad, a train convoy. Same idea. It's all about discouraging further attacks. It's not about preventing them entirely, although it does help with that to an extent. It's about preventing more damage. Hope you learned something from this. I just did this off the top of my head after seeing that video at the beginning, because it's like, yeah, blow up the track, but you know what? You can also blow up the road with this Abrams tank going over it. So that literally should demolish your arguments.
Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below.